Hello everybody, I'm back with another Bible study video, and this is on Psalm 107. If you're new to my channel, I do Bible studies kind of geared towards mental health. I suffer with anxiety and depression and just kind of want to help myself and others through this journey with the Bible. So here we go. Psalm 107, Thanksgiving for God's deliverance. So nowhere in here does it talk about the Babylonian exile, but my commentary mentioned that this was most likely during the Babylonian or after the Babylonian exile. And some things I looked at online mentioned it was most likely during that time as well. So, I wrote some stuff about that, and it kind of makes it matter of fact that was when it was from, because that's how my commentary explained it. But I just want to kind of give that disclaimer that I don't know for sure. That's just what my commentary said. I couldn't find anything like hard, concrete proof online, but most things I read were saying most likely this was post-exile. Okay. So Psalm 107, Thanksgiving for God's deliverance. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His faithful love endures forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord proclaim that he has redeemed them from the power of the foe and has gathered them from the lands, from the east and the west, from the north and the south. So this is what my commentary had to say. It said this psalm starts by telling people to give thanks to God for his gracious act of redeeming his people from Babylonian exile and gathering them back in the land. Some wandered in the desolate wilderness, finding no way to a city where they could live. They were hungry and thirsty. Their spirits failed within them. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble. He rescued them from their distress. He led them by the right path to go to a city where they could live. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his faithful love and his wondrous works for all humanity. For he has satisfied the thirsty and filled the hungry with good things. So here my commentary was saying the psalmist calls on the people of God to thank him for his faithful love. God's people today should learn from this and always call on him in times of trouble. So this right here is going to be a continued theme throughout this psalm, which is why I actually wanted to do a video on it, because it doesn't matter how many times you mess up. If you call to God and you're in trouble, he will be there for you. And I thought that was extremely comforting, and that's why I wanted to do a video on it. But you'll see that there's a theme of this happening throughout the psalm. Okay. Others sat in darkness and gloom, prisoners in cruel chains. So my commentary was saying when they were carried off in Babylonian captivity, that's what this is referring to. Because they rebelled against God's commands and despised the counsel of the Most High. He broke their spirits with hard labor. They stumbled and there was no one to help. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble. He saved them from their distress. So here we see it again. This is the second time we're seeing that they cried out to the Lord and he saved them from their distress. He brought them out of the darkness and gloom and broke their chains apart. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his faithful love and his wondrous works for all humanity. So this is what I have written here. Again, we see them cry out to the Lord. He rescues them, and the psalmist again urges them to give thanks. For his faithful love and his wondrous works for all humanity. Okay. For he has broken down the bronze gates and cut through the iron bars. Fools suffered affliction because of their rebellious ways and their iniquities. They loathed all food and came near the gates of death. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble. He saved them from their distress. So this is a third time we see it. Again, the Lord saves, repeated to show his grace and mercy. And this is going to be a continuous thing throughout this psalm, which is why I found it so encouraging. This isn't a psalm you would look at and think, oh, yeah, this is great for mental health. But this is a psalm that is good for that to me, because it's proving that even when people mess up and do bad and they sin and they do wrong, if they call on the Lord, he will rescue them. And that's just encouraging. Okay. He sent his word and healed them. He rescued them from their traps. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his faithful love and his wondrous works for all humanity. Let them offer thanksgiving sacrifices and announce his works with shouts of joy. So, again, we're seeing that the psalmist is urging them to give praise and thanks to the Lord, because he's continuously listening to their cries for help, despite them doing wrong. Others went to sea in ships, conducting trade on the vast water. They saw the Lord's works, his wondrous works in the deep. He spoke and raised a stormy wind that stirred up the waves of the sea. So here, the psalmist is praising God for his sovereign rule over nature. Rising up to the sky, sinking down to the depths, their courage melting away in anguish, they reeled and staggered like a drunkard, and all their skill was useless. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble, and he brought them out of their distress. So again, we see them calling out to the Lord in their time of trouble. He stilled the storm to a whisper, and the waves of the sea were hushed. So again, he's showing his sovereign rule over nature. They rejoiced when the waves grew quiet. Then he guided them to the harbor they longed for. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his faithful love and his wondrous works for all humanity. Let them exalt him in the assembly of the people and praise him in the council of the elders. So my commentary was saying, when God delivers us from overwhelming circumstances in life, we should respond with praise. And this is a theme we see throughout this whole psalm, is them sinning, them doing bad, them crying for help, God giving them that help, and then them praising. So if there's one thing we can take from this psalm, it would be to praise him for all of his works. Sorry, my doggy. He turns rivers into desert, springs into thirsty ground, and fruitful land into salty wasteland because of the wickedness of its inhabitants. He turns a desert into a pool, dry land into springs. He causes the hungry to settle there, and they establish a city where they can live. They sow fields and plant vineyards that yield a fruitful harvest. He blesses them, and they multiply greatly. He does not let their livestock decrease. When they are diminished and are humbled by cruel oppression and sorrow, he pours contempt on nobles and makes them wander in a trackless wasteland. But he lifts the needy out of their suffering and makes their families multiply like flocks. The upright see it and rejoice, and all injustice shuts its mouth. Let whoever is wise pay attention to these things and consider the Lord's acts of faithful love. So, my commentary was saying here, nothing is more valuable than the Lord's faithful love. And then I kind of looked up online what is the meaning of Psalm 107, and I wanted to read that to you. Psalm 107 reminds us of God's unwavering love, his deliverance from distress, and his miraculous interventions. It encourages us to give thanks and praise to the one who hears our cries and rescues us. So I really love this psalm, and I loved the encouragement it gave me kind of throughout. I hope you guys got something out of this Bible study as well. Like I said, this psalm isn't necessarily geared towards mental health, but there is some mental anguish. And the psalm proves that God still listens to your cries and still saves you in spite of you kind of creating that trouble for yourself. And that just makes you feel good that God's so compassionate that he'll do that. All right, so I hope you got something out of this psalm, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. It's Monday today, and that is a stressful day for a lot of people. I know it'll be stressful for me when I find another job. So I hope you guys have a great day and a great rest of your week. God bless.